antenna,
Okay.
allowing us to pick up on those subtle synchronicities that might otherwise go unnoticed.
Can you give us an example of what a synchronicity might look like in everyday life?
Sure, imagine you've been feeling, stuck in a rut,
Yeah.
unsure about a career change.
Okay.
Then, seemingly out of the blue, you run into an old friend who's successfully made a similar transition.
Yeah.
They share their experiences, offer valuable advice, and even connect you with someone in their network. That chance encounter.
Yeah.
That could be a synchronicity, orchestrated by a higher intelligence to guide you toward your true path.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like the universe is conspiring to support us.
Yeah.
But we need to be open and receptive to those opportunities.
Right.
But, this whole idea of building the antikarana,
Yeah.
it still feels a little bit abstract.
Yeah.
What are some practical steps we can take to actually strengthen that bridge to our soul?
Well, remember those 3 keys to awakening consciousness we talked about earlier?
Yes.
Self-observation, understanding duality, and mastering our speech.
Yes.
Martorelli, he dives deeper into each of these, offering specific techniques for cultivating them.
Okay.
He calls them the 3 instruments for building the antikarana.
Okay, let's start with self-observation.
Okay.
We've talked about this a lot already.
Right.
But how do we take it to the next level?
Well, Martorelli emphasizes that true self-observation, it goes beyond just, noticing our thoughts.
Yeah.
It's about developing this detached awareness,
Yeah, okay.
observing those thoughts without judgment or identification.
Okay.
He uses this analogy of a scientist observing a specimen under a microscope. You study the thoughts with curiosity, with objectivity,
Okay.
but you don't get entangled in them.
I think a lot of people might struggle with that detachment.
Yeah.
We're so used to identifying with our thoughts,
Yeah.
believing that they are who we are.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a common obstacle.
Yeah.
He suggests a simple exercise to cultivate this detachment.
Okay.
Imagine your thoughts are clouds passing through the sky of your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You observe their shapes, their movements,
Okay.
but you don't try to cling to them or push them away.
Right.
You simply allow them to come and go.
That's a beautiful visual.
Yeah.
It makes the process feel more manageable somehow.
He also highlights the importance of observing our emotions and even our physical sensations.
Okay.
He suggests paying attention to how our body reacts in different situations.
Right.
Do we tense up when we're stressed? Do we feel a warmth in our chest when we experience joy?
So we're not just observing our internal dialogue, but also tuning in to the wisdom of our body.
Exactly.
It's like we're gathering data from multiple sources to get a deeper understanding of ourselves.
Exactly. And this brings us to the second key,
Okay.
understanding duality.
Yeah.
We talked about how we tend to get caught in that mental tug of war
Right.
between justification and self-blame.
Yeah.
Martorelli, he offers a technique for breaking free from that cycle.
Okay. I'm eager to hear about this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us could benefit from learning how to escape that mental trap.
He calls it the technique of the middle point, and it involves acknowledging both sides of the duality,
Okay.
the justification and the self-blame,
Mm-hmm.
without getting pulled into either extreme.
Okay.
We recognize that both perspectives exist within us,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't identify with either one. Instead, we find that middle point, the
Right.
point of balance and neutrality.
It's like finding that still point in the center of a seesaw,
Yes.
where neither side has more weight than the other.
Exactly.
But how do we actually do that? It sounds easier said than done.
It takes practice, of course.
Yeah.
But he suggests starting with a simple affirmation.
Okay.
I acknowledge both the part of me that wants to justify my actions and the part of me that wants to blame myself.
Mm-hmm.
I choose to observe these two perspectives without judgment,
Okay.
and I seek the middle point, the point of balance and equanimity.
It's like we're inviting those two warring factions to the negotiating table.
Yeah,
But we're not taking sides.
right.
We're simply acting as the mediator,
Exactly.
seeking a peaceful resolution.
Oh, that's a great analogy. And this brings us to the third key,
Okay.
the one we touched on earlier,
Right.
mastering our speech.
Yes.
Remember those different levels of speech Martorelli described?
Yes, the vulgar, the expressive, and the one that syntonizes.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear more about how we can cultivate that highest level of speech, the language of the soul.
Well, he's very clear that it's not about, trying to force ourselves to speak in a certain way or adopt some kind of spiritual jargon.
Okay.
It's more about becoming aware of the energy and intention behind our words.
So it's not just about what we say, but how we say it. the vibrational quality of our speech.
Exactly. He suggests paying attention to the tone of our voice, the rhythm of our words,
Wow.
the way our body feels when we speak.
Yeah.
Are we speaking from a place of openness and compassion,
All right.
or are we projecting, anger, judgment, or fear?
It's almost like we're becoming sound healers.
Yeah.
Using the power of our voice to shift our own energy and the energy of those around us.
Right. And he even suggests that by cultivating this word that syntonizes, we can tap into a deeper level of creativity and inspiration.
That's fascinating. So it's not just about spiritual growth,
Yeah.
but also about unlocking our creative potential.
Exactly. He believes that when we align our speech with the vibration of our soul, we open ourselves up to this flow of insights and ideas that wouldn't be accessible otherwise.
It's like we're becoming conduits for a higher intelligence, allowing that creative energy to flow through us.
Right.
But how do we actually practice this? Do we need to chant mantras or recite affirmations?
He doesn't prescribe any specific practices, but he emphasizes the importance of listening to the silence within.
Okay.
He says that by quieting the mind, creating space for stillness, we allow the word that syntonizes to emerge organically.
It makes me think of that saying, speak only when your words are more beautiful than silence.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It reminds us that sometimes the most powerful communication happens in the spaces between the words.
So we've explored the 3 instruments for building the Antakarana. Self-observation, understanding duality, and mastering our speech.
Right.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
But I'm starting to get a sense of how these practices work together to create a more profound connection with our soul.
Yeah.
But I'm still curious about those synchronicities.
Okay.
How can we learn to recognize them amidst the noise and chaos of everyday life?
Yeah, it feels like we're talking about developing a whole new sense.
Right.
Like a kind of a soul radar.
Yeah.
For picking up on those subtle signals from the universe.
That's a great way to think about it. And like any skill, it takes, practice and attention to develop.
Right.
Martorelli, he points out that we're bombarded with sensory input all day long, sights, sounds, notifications.
Right.
It's easy to miss those quieter, more meaningful messages. So how do we filter out the noise and tune in to the whispers of the universe? Is it like meditation where we cultivate a quiet mind?
Well, meditation is definitely one powerful tool.
Yeah.
But, Martorelli suggests it's more about cultivating a state of mindful awareness throughout the day.
Okay.
It's about paying attention to our intuition, those gut feelings that often guide us towards the right path, even if we don't consciously understand why.
Sometimes I get these strong intuitive hits, but then I second-guess myself.
Oh, yeah.
I start overthinking it, and I end up talking myself out of what my gut was telling me.
That's the ego trying to regain control. Martorelli would say it's important to recognize that the ego, it thrives on certainty and predictability.
Yeah.
It wants to analyze everything, to have all the answers.
Right.
But the soul, it speaks a different language.
Oh.
It's a language of intuition, of feeling, of those unexplainable...
So we need to learn to trust our gut instincts, even if they don't, make logical sense at the time.
Exactly. And the more we cultivate that trust, the more those synchronicities will show up in our lives.
Okay.
They might come in the form of chance encounters, unexpected opportunities, or even just sudden realization that shifts our perspective.
I've heard people say that synchronicities increase when you're on the right path.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any truth to that?
Well, Martorelli would definitely agree with that.
Go.
He suggests that as we align ourselves with our soul's purpose, the universe conspires to support us.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like we're stepping into a flow state where everything seems to fall into place effortlessly.
That's such an inspiring thought.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, what happens when we ignore those synchronicities? Do we miss out on opportunities? Or worse, do we end up on the wrong path?
Well, he doesn't frame it in terms of right and wrong paths.
Right.
Remember, he encourages us to move beyond that kind of dualistic thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
But he does suggest that when we ignore those intuitive nudges, we might experience a sense of stagnation or frustration.
Okay.
It's like we're swimming upstream against the current of the universe instead of allowing ourselves to be carried by the flow.
So it's not about punishment.
No.
But about aligning ourselves with the natural order of things.
Exactly. And he reminds us that this journey of spiritual initiation is an ongoing process. There's no finish line.
Yeah.
There's no point in which we've, suddenly arrived. It's about continually refining our awareness, deepening our connection to our soul, and becoming more attuned to the synchronicities that guide us along the way.
This whole conversation has really made me think about my own experiences with synchronicities.
Yeah.
There have been so many times when I've looked back and realized that what seemed like a random event at the time was actually a pivotal turning point in my life.
And that's the beauty of this perspective.
Yeah. It allows us to see those hidden connections, the intricate web of meaning that weaves through our lives.
Right.
It's like, we're reading a novel and suddenly realizing that all those seemingly insignificant details were actually foreshadowing something much larger.
It makes you wonder how many synchronicities we miss because we're not paying attention.
Right. That's why Martorelli emphasizes the importance of cultivating a beginner's mind,
Right.
that sense of childlike wonder and openness to the unknown. He says it's about approaching life with curiosity,
Right.
expecting the unexpected, and trusting that the universe is always guiding us towards our highest good.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on the power of synchronicities and the importance of listening to those subtle whispers from the universe.
I agree.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise.
And I encourage you to reflect on your own experiences with synchronicities. What messages might the universe be sending your way? What opportunities are unfolding around you right now that you might be overlooking?
Those are great questions to ponder.
And I think that's the perfect note to end on.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and remember to keep your eyes open for those synchronicities.
Yeah.